Hi everybody, my name's Doug Wilson and this is Yellow Hawk Customs Outdoors. I spent a lot of time in the field when I was a kid, when I was a teenager. I most weekends, if you were looking for me in the neighborhood, you wouldn't be able to find me. I was on the Appalachian Trail, I was up at Broad Creek, Boy Scout Camp, wherever, right? I was always in the woods. So when I came of age after high school, I enlisted into the Army and I spent quite a few years on a Special Forces A team. So I have carried fixed blade knives a lot of different ways. Some are more functional and safe than others. This, to me, is the safest, most functional sheath you can put on a fixed blade knife, Kydex. But if you're not able to acquire one of these, maybe you don't have the money right now or whatever, okay? I'm going to show you how to turn this into a safe and functional sheath for your fixed blade knife. So you guys stay tuned and we'll get right to it. Okay, so the first thing we're going to need to turn this leather sheath into a reasonably functional carry for your fixed blade knife. Now, there's nothing I can do about the actual carry system, okay? It's got a belt loop. That's it. That's what this leather sheath has, a belt loop. And in my opinion, how this is set up, it just sucks. Okay, it's just my opinion. All right, but I'm going to show you how to, keep this knife from falling out of the sheath on you. If you got to take off running or you got to DD mail out of a area quickly or whatever. Okay, so the first thing you need is water. Okay, and this is pretty much the only thing you need except for a couple of shaping tools. All right, so the first thing you want to do is you want to moisten the leather, okay? Now, you can't do this to all leather sheaths. You can only do it to a veg tanned leather sheath, okay? This is veg tanned leather, and I'm going to get it reasonably moist. I'm not going to get it soaking, sopping wet, but in order to wet mold this to this knife, and this is the Delta Whiskey Switchback in Scandivex grind, with a Scandivex grind. Delta Whiskey Switchback, right? Built by Joshua Blankenship at Ankara Knife Company. Okay? He builds these. It's my design. He builds them for his clients, right? His clients might say to him, hey, I want one of those switchbacks, right? He builds it for him, and then he sends it to me, and myself and the client work on a sheath system together for it. Okay? So it becomes a knife and sheath system. That's why I do what I do with my designs. So I can provide you guys with a top quality custom knife in most cases and a top quality Kydex sheath that's hand built specifically for you and your carry needs. Okay? If you're just, if you buy a knife and you're okay with just this leather sheath with a belt loop, fine. You do whatever you want. But I'm telling you right now, this is not the best way to carry a knife. Okay? Yeah, I know your grandfather was doing it for 80 years, and his grandfather before him, but Kydex is where it's at now. Right? I don't know too many soldiers or guys in special ops who even carry a leather sheath anymore. Almost all of them are going to Kydex, and there's a reason for that. Alright? Alright, so let's get back to this leather sheath. We're going to wet it down, and we're going to do what we call wet molding. Okay? We're going to wet mold it. So you need to get it not soaking, sopping wet, but fairly wet in order to wet mold. Okay, now we're not tooling the leather. If you wanted to just tool the leather, right, with some stamps or whatever, then you would just moisten the top of it here. But we're getting it pretty wet, all right? I'm even going to put some inside, some water inside of it. All right. And moisten that leather to where it's, you know, it's like clay almost. All right. Now, I say you're better off using a veg tan leather sheath because it takes molding better than other leathers do. Okay. It just seems to mold better. Okay. I'm going to put the knife in there. I'm going to see where it rests when I put it in there. Now, this is a 3/4 coverage sheath. Okay. Now, this sheath did not come with this knife. Okay, this is a sheath that I had here in the shop. It belonged to a client, I'm sure. Sent it with his knife and didn't want it back. Okay? Which I understand that. And for you diehard leather guys, hey, more power to you, brother. I'm just saying. Alright? All you guys that are traditional bushcrafters, I don't know what that means, traditional bushcrafters, because tradition changes every day, right? Tradition 10 years ago is not what it is today, and so on, right? All right, so let's do this. Let's get it in there, and we'll see if we can start wet molding. All right? All right, so I don't think this leather's wet enough, okay? Leather's not wet enough. Now, some leathers are going to wet mold better than others, but you'll be able to get something out of it. All right? Let me see what we got here. All right. And it's okay to do this to your sheath. It's absolutely fine. Not going to hurt it. Matter of fact, that's how the leather was tanned. It got wet. Now, I can already tell that this leather for this sheath is not the best veg tan leather for molding, but it will work. So I have this is a manipulating tool for leather, right? And I'm going to work around that finger guard area until I have that leather pushed in real well. See that right there? Make sure you push it in real good around that area. And this is basically the area you want to work around, is the finger choil, okay? Or the ricasso in some knives. But there's a reason why I designed my knives this way, where the handle comes up as far, you know, the handle scales come up as far as possible, is for sure purchase, okay? If the handle stopped here, right, and you had a ricasso here, to me, that's not as comfortable, not as safe a knife as having this good, thick handle material up near the hilt of the knife, okay? Just my opinion, again. Just working it around. Now, be careful what you're doing it with. You could scar the leather if you're not careful. Alright. Now I'm going to take this, I'm going to smooth the leather out a little bit, because that puts some marks in it. Okay, now this is going to help with retention. You get this leather down around that finger choil, and it helps with retention. See, it's helping already. A lot of sheaths, leather sheaths, all you have to do is turn the sheath over and the knife falls right out. That is just dangerous, okay? It's unsafe in the field. And God forbid if you should have to take off running, right? You're going to lose your knife. I don't know how many guys I have witnessed losing their knives in the field because of a loose leather sheath. And I'm telling you, the first time you lose a knife, whether you find it or not, guarantee you, you're going to start looking at Kydex. I have a lot of guys who contact me and say, Doug, I'm tired of leather. It doesn't hold the knife well. Blah, 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 right? So can you build me a sheath system for my knife that's going to hold it safely, securely, and functionally? Sure, I can do that for you. All right, I'm going to throw out a disclaimer at this point, right? This video is not intended to offend anyone. I realize I have very strong opinions about leather versus Kydex. I realize I do, but it's based on experience in the field. I'm all about safety out there, and it's just sometimes leather sheaths are just not safe, right? I've seen guys put a knife right through a leather sheath, you know, the back of it, into their leg. And I know you're not going to be that guy, right? But stuff happens in the field. It really does. And I just want guys to know that this video is not, I'm not intending to offend anyone. I believe what I believe, that's all, right? All right? So don't get your feathers ruffled. If you're a traditionalist and you love leather, so be it. That's great. Hopefully this little technique will help you out a little. Wet molding, right? All right, so, you know, you are going to see the marks from the tooling. You know, when you use your slicker or whatever you're using, you will see the marks in the leather. Okay, it's pretty much, it depends on how hard you have to work, right? But this one's pretty good. This one's not bad. I got it on the back as well, right? And then, you know, I have these clamps that what I'll do is once I got it all molded, because it's easy to take those marks out of it. All you got to do is moisten it up after it dries. Just moisten the top layer, and you can smooth all that out, right? So I'm just going to take these clamps, and like I said, there's leather on the end of these clamps so that the metal doesn't dig into the leather. Okay, so I'm just going to do that. Keep them clamps on there for a while until it dries, and then I'll have a reasonably secure leather sheath for field use. When you wet mold like this, it's going to remain fairly stable. However, it's nothing like Kydex. You might get a, you know, a slide in seat, right? Slide in seat, but it's not going to be like Kydex, okay? And the important thing is get it molded to, you know, where you want it, right? Nice deep finger choil to hold that in, go in the back and do it on the back too, right? Wet mold it to that finger choil, and then the important thing is let it dry that way, okay? And then you're going to have a reasonably secure leather sheath, right? And you can do this to a lot of different sheaths a lot of different knives. It doesn't work on every one, but it works across the board pretty well, okay? And then when you're done, let it dry, right? And you'll have that indentation there on the back as well. Just keep working at it. I'm telling you, this is really thick leather. This is like 10-ounce leather. So it's going to take me a while to do this. And, you know, when I'm done with it, I'll show it to you. But do it until you feel like it's molded well, okay? And the important thing is just be careful and don't scar up your leather with, you know, don't try to do it with the edge of a knife, or, you know, something that's, you know, round and, you know, like a dowel or a woodworking slicker. I mean, a leatherworking slicker. These work real good. Something that's smooth. And you can get that down in there nice and tight. And then let it dry. And it'll be much more secure. Alright? Wet molding is not hard. Alright, guys? So, that's it. That's all it takes. Just keep working with it, and you'll have a reasonably functional leather sheath. My recommendation, though, nothing beats this. So here is a wet molded sheath that I wet molded, I don't know, a year or so ago. I think there's a video on this one as well. Now this veg tan leather wet molded better than what I'm working with here, right? This one here. Now I got a couple of clamps on it right now. Now you notice my clamps are wrapped in leather, the ends, so it doesn't scar it up. This one was a little easier. This one was molded for my Native Survival knife. This is designed by Mitch Mitchell of the Native Survival School up there in Massachusetts. I've been camping with Mitch a few times. He's a good guy. Check out his channel. It's called the Native Survival School, right? So he was on the first episode, very first season of Alone. And had it not been for his mother being real sick, he might have taken that. He might have. He's really good. So, there it is. Works out real good. I mean, it holds it. Now, if I slam it, it'll come out eventually. But that's pretty tight. Alright? That's what wet molding can do for you. It gives you Kydex-like retention. But, just a word of caution, if it rains and the thing gets wet again, it's going to loosen right up. Alright? So, just showing that to you. This one worked out real nice. So, nice knife. He did a good job on it. Alright, guys. It's Doug Wilson for Yellow Hawk Customs Outdoors. This has been a little teeny video. See ya! Okay, I'm going to do like a little bonus part to this video. I'm going to show you guys how to weatherproof a leather sheath, right? So that it lasts forever, right? Leather breaks down over the years. It just breaks down, dry rots, loses all its essential oils and whatnot. You have to really weatherproof. I don't say waterproof because you can never get leather waterproof. It's always going to leak somewhere. It's always going to absorb water somewhere, unless it's completely impregnated with beeswax or something like that, which they do have leather like that, but it's difficult to do on your own. Okay, guys end up ruining the leather trying to get that much wax into it because you have to heat it, heat it, heat it, heat it. You know what I mean? And then the actual cells in the leather start to burst and break down. They start breaking up. So, real quick, I want to show you how to weatherproof it. Okay. this is the magic ingredient right here, Snow Seal. Now, through, I don't know, 35 years of experience of using this product, I know it works, and it works very well, right? So, I don't use anything else. There's no need for me to use anything else. This works perfectly, all right? It's basically beeswax, right? With a softener in it to help it get into the leather, right? So, it's pretty much good to go, all right? All right, so I wet molded this sheath for this knife, all right? This is the Native Survival knife. I showed you that already. Here's how the other one turned out. I've already waxed it, you know, weatherproofed it, and it turned out real well. That knife is in there to stay now. It's not coming out of there, okay? It doesn't have Kydex retention, but it's pretty good. All right, it's pretty good, not too bad. So, occasionally I'll give one away with a knife or whatever, you know. Let's do this one, okay? The other one's already finished. Okay, now here's the way to do it, okay? Take your heat gun or your hair dryer, put it on a low setting. Heat the leather just a little bit, just to where it's warm to the touch. All right. This one's got a Kydex plate on the front of it, right? So I have to be careful not to heat that too much. All right. Heat it up. Get it warm. Okay. Now this step doesn't need to happen. Just get some wax on it. Just get some Snow Seal on it. Now I'll just take a little bit at a time. Get it on there. Work it into the threads. The threads is where it's going to leak the worst. Alright? Because that's actually holes in the leather. Okay? Now this is a sheath that LT Wright includes with some of his knives. Okay? Because this knife is made by LT Wright, just the same way I have the Infinity, Delta Whiskey Infinity made. Mitch Mitchell had these knives made by LT Wright. All right, and what we do is we put in an order for, say, 50 or 60 knives, and we get them all at once. So usually you're not going to find these on LT Wright's website. You're not going to find them. They're sold by the proprietor of the design. Okay. All right. So there's that. And you want to heat it until it starts to soak in. Right. Heat it until it starts to soak in. This is like not rocket science here. But I wanted to just show you guys the process of how I do it to get really good weatherproofing of my leather. Okay, now there it is. There's the way it's done. Okay, and then after I've got 3 or 4 coats of doing all that, right, I'll put an extra coat on, just a light coat at the end. Make sure you get those stitches, all right? Make sure you get the sutures. All right? And then what I do is I wipe it off and I buff it. All right? So I wipe off the excess with a piece of paper towel, right? And usually I can buff it right with the paper towel. All right? And then you buff it and it's good to go. All right? Just want to show that to you guys in case you've never seen it. I know a lot of you guys have. Some of you haven't. Okay? It's real easy to do. Snow Seal. In the blue and white can. Snow Seal. This is where it's at.